What's up guys, David here, and today we're going to be talking about fading out your guitar tracks using a clip fade versus using automation. This tip mainly pertains to you guys using DIs and amp sims. If you are using printed guitar tones, well, this is pretty much meaningless to you, but feel free to stay and hang out. We are talking about this today because clip and automation fades sound completely different, and it's something that not a lot of people think about, especially if you're just starting out. And in a few ways, it can kind of take away from the song and even hurt your mix, so it's something you should think about. So let's get started. Now once again guys, this does not apply to printed guitar tones. This is for when you're using DIs like I am here, and then your tone is all coming from a amp sim in the effects bin. Now when I say clip fade, I'm referring to this right here, putting a fade directly onto the audio clip. And when I say automation, I'm referring to opening up an automation lane and automating the volume fader to come down. Now these are very different simply because of signal flow. When using clip fade, you are lowering the strength of the signal before it hits the guitar amp, whereas automation, you're lowering the signal after it's already passed through the amp. Look at it this way, clip fades are basically like directly turning down the volume knob on your guitar. Nothing is changing on the amp side, but the signal going into the amp is getting weaker, thus changing the tone, usually making the actual tone weaker. Automation, however, is like leaving the guitar volume all the way up, but then just going to the amp and turning down the master volume. The tone stays the same, but the amp volume is the only thing that's going down. Now let's say you have a song where you're ending it by just letting the guitars fade out. This is where the whole clip versus automation fade makes the biggest difference and where it's most noticeable. Let's listen to the clip fade first. Now what I noticed there is as it fades, it's very inconsistent, especially in the relationship between the left and the right tone. And on top of that, the quieter the signal gets, the more just kind of flubby the tone gets. Now let's check out the automation fade. That sounds a lot better to me. Everything is way more consistent. The left and the right are right in sync with each other, and it just better achieves the goal of the song just disappearing. I mean, that's the goal of fading out a song like that. You just want it to naturally disappear and fade away, and the automation fade does that a lot better. Now, another thing that can happen when using the clip fade is as the signal drops, as the tone starts to dissipate, you get noise introduced into the track. This is because the signal is getting so low, the amp is starting to pick up the noise floor and amplify that as well. The noisiness can get pretty bad when using a distorted bass track, for example. And if you're ending a song like this where it's just the guitars fading out, that's the only thing people are listening to. So if you get a time where there's noise being brought up, they're going to notice that. It's going to be super apparent and it's probably not going to sound too good. Now, on the other side of the coin of guitars fading out, let's check out what a guitar swell sounds like. Here is a swell with the clip fade. Now here it is with automation. Now the clip fade doesn't even really sound like a swell, it just kind of abruptly starts. It doesn't gradually come up from nothing like what you would get using automation. Now something I noticed when editing the video is look at the waveforms here. Now on the clip fades when the guitar is fading out, you'll notice that the volume doesn't really change until maybe about 75% of the way through the fade. Same thing with the swell. On the clip fade, it just abruptly starts out of nowhere, the volume stays the same, whereas on the automation, it's this really gradual swell. Now, I know you could just get rid of this entire problem by just printing the guitar tracks, which is a valid argument, but what I would say to that is some people like using the amp sim in the effects bin. They like being able to go back and make changes while mixing. And that's totally fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's how you're working, then this stuff is important. But overall, that's pretty much it. The reason I'm talking about this is because up until kind of recently, I'd been using these clip fades for everything, not thinking about what that's doing to the tone and what that could be doing to the song. And if you guys are just starting out, this probably isn't something that you're thinking about when just starting to mix. It might seem small in the scope of an entire mix, but in that sense, it's actually very important because that's what mixing is. It's hundreds of good decisions that make a huge difference in the final product. So stuff like this just weighs a lot more than you think. So long story short, keep this in mind next time you're working with DIs and amp sims. While it might be a small detail, it matters nonetheless. Anyways, that's where I'm going to end it for today, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's new videos every single week and you don't want to miss any content. So as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is David, and I'll see you next time.